long time from actually Elihu Harris. And I always turn to Elihu because he's aside from being the person I worked for at one point, he is a he is a seasoned observer of the political scene, right? And I, when, particularly when wiggy election outcomes like the one here in Georgia happen, I always like to turn to him for part of the picture. The other part of the picture, I simply had no other person to turn to than myself. And I'm not saying that in a sort of a Ted Knight Baxterish. If you don't know who Ted Knight is, he goes back to Mary Tyler Moore, and it's a long story. But the bottom line is I always have the answer. But my point is that because I spend a lot of time here in Georgia for my mom, I have a different view, a different take on why Jon Ossoff lost to Karen Handel than other political observers. And a lot of that was, and my point of view on this was reinforced by my conversation with Elihu. But I'll say that I've watched a lot of Ossoff's commercials. You can't avoid them. Every station had a Jon Ossoff commercial or a Karen Handel commercial, and I can recite them for you. The Karen Handel commercials were he's too young, or he didn't really serve in the war, so how dare he say that he's on the front lines fighting ISIS. There was one guy that was said to be a military vet on one of her commercials. And then there was the other issue brought out more by the media than Karen Handel commercials, which I thought in retrospect were fair because they knew the reason. Oh, he doesn't live in the district. Well, Jon Ossoff, he moved out of the district just really a few miles. I think really a few feet. But he did so to help his girlfriend through med school. They got a place not too far away outside the district. Jon Ossoff is from the district. His parents live there. He's known by everybody there. And people know and love the couple. And so that's what happened. But the media kept repeating that over and over again. And it was almost one of those whisper campaigns that the media does on behalf of a Republican or a Democratic source during an election. More often than not, it's a Republican source. It's like this whisper thing. When you know he doesn't live in the district. And at the end of the day, people are going to say, hey, you know what? All that matters is the end result, the end game, right? Well, and Esteban says Trump tweets, people do what he says. Whatever. Well, look, that's not really the point of it either. In fact, there's every reason to believe that Trump, was the factor. But he was the negative factor because Tom Price carried the 6th district by 20 points. Yeah, Trump won by a point. And I think Mitt Romney won by 16 points by a healthy margin. Hey, Donis, how you doing? But the reason why Jon Ossoff lost was very simple. And I alluded to it before, but I'm now certain this is the reason. Ossoff did not talk about jobs, whereas when Karen Handel gave her acceptance speech, she said we have to generate jobs for people. There is a problem among the low to moderate skilled white working class, and it's very acute here. I'm bummed out too, Donis. It's a very acute problem here where the low skilled to moderate skilled, and by that I mean no college education, or if you have a college education, maybe it's an AA degree, but among that group, the overall rate of income revenue is lower than it's ever been. And it's happened for a number of reasons. For example, let's take Delta. Delta laid off 6,000 people, 6 or 7,000 people, which affected not just whites but blacks here. Ford had a giant plant here, and that plant recently closed. It used to make Ford Tauruses, okay? That plant's closed. Closed. Yeah, the movie industry is here, but there are only so many movie jobs to go around, and there's a term for it. It's spillover jobs that come from movie activity. That hasn't really unfolded. It has, but not entirely. So, and it takes time for that to develop. So you put all that together, and it spells frustration for a lot of people. Now, on the other hand, there are a number of people who are very resourceful. They figured out how to make money via Uber and Lyft, the share economy. Or they make money by setting up a call center at their house, which you can do now in the era of this revolution, this work-at-home revolution, allowed by smartphones, laptops, and as well as standard analog phones, right? That has helped to soften a lot of the blow. And the simple fact that, yes, you do have a number of companies that are providing goods and services to consumers overseas, particularly consulting and high-end manufacturers of goods, not so much low-end. And then there are people who are starting their own businesses because, hey, you can get somebody in China to make that bag, right? At less cost than it would be made here. Some of the jobs are taken out, but it helps the person here make money if we're able to sell that item, right? So you put all that together and it spells some ability to make ends meet, yes, but not the entire ability to live as comfortable as they want. And so when a candidate is running for office and a candidate like Karen Handel or Donald Trump wants to speak to that group, they talk about bringing back the jobs that were lost. They talk about better jobs. So when Karen Handel gave her acceptance speech, what did she say? She said that we had to work on getting better jobs for people. She said that. That's been a constant Republican message. And Democrats, my party, hey Barry, how you doing? Have completely missed that. Completely missed that, all right? Now, am I saying that had Jon Ossoff delivered that message, he would have won? Not necessarily, but I think he would have done better. I would think he would have stood a better chance of winning, because what Jon Ossoff had going for him is young, John Mayerish looking, right, which he didn't play up. There should have been which leads to another problem. He came off as humorless. He was almost plastic. I mean, it was hard to feel like you knew the person, okay? I mean, it was like this. And I'm not insulting him, because I was thinking the other day that Jon Ossoff's almost the perfect candidate. So, save for the whole issue about living out of the district with his girlfriend, he's almost Teflon. You can't figure out anything that sticks to him. He's almost too perfect, right? He's 30, fiancé, but this is Jon Ossoff. Hi, I'm Jon Ossoff, and I approve this message. High tech is very important. Just listen to my friend here. If you vote for me, I will continue high-tech activity in this district. Please vote for Jon Ossoff. That's it. I mean, obviously, I can deliver that line. I'm paraphrasing. But it's not anything that makes you say, okay, hey, I'm behind this guy, right? Yeah. People were behind him because he represented the anti-Trump, right? He represented that thing that was going to get us over the horror of Trump. That's what he was built up to. Not really his fault. He didn't make any promises saying, I'm going to go and undo Trump. He said that he was going to work on behalf of the constituents. Jon Ossoff was very sensitive to the fact, I should say is, very sensitive to the fact that his district is mostly red. It has been historically. It was established in 1992. Something else to remember, too. Jon Ossoff may be back in a few months. What do I mean? This was the Georgia special election to fill the seat that Tom Price vacated when Donald Trump appointed him to cabinet. That means that come 2018, guess what? Hey, we're going to be back here again. That's right. This makes me all the more sick to my stomach that I didn't just take the hour's drive up there. Anyway, I should have. But you know what? This is a good personal watershed moment for me. Made me think about a lot of things. Because I had fallen off covering politics for a while. Mainly, and didn't quite get back to it. You know, I was paying attention to the NFL, but I really developed this channel from covering politics, from political commentary. I was on CNN for the first time in 2007 because of my political views and those of other YouTubers. That's where Zenny62 made its mark. The NFL draft certainly helped, and the NFL certainly helped. But after that came the Academy Awards and Comic-Con and WonderCon. But it started with politics, the Democratic Convention, national conventions, the Obama administration. That's what started this all. And I got away from that. And I realized, and then I let the party, in 2016, I let the party punk me. And I didn't insist. I didn't go up there and act rabidly crazy and say, hey, you owe me a press credential. I'm on the White House press list. I've been there since 2012. I've done A, B, C, and D for President Obama. And I campaigned against Hillary when Barack was running in 2006 and 7 and 8. But, as I said when Barack appointed her Secretary of State, it's a new day and it's go time and we're all together as Democrats. You guys forgot that. And I let them hold me out of a convention that I should have been at last year, and it took the wind out of my sails. So I just didn't pay attention to politics for a while. But you know what? I'm back. I'm back. And I'm also back because Donna Brazil, who is the interim chair, I told her we have a huge problem in that we don't pay attention as Democrats to social media. And that problem still exists. We have to shore that up, or we're not going to win elections. We've got a big test coming next year. A big test. Now, Donut says like Al Gore in 2002. Barry Lee says, what's funny is if Trump and Pence are so innocent, why do they need to hire personal lawyers? Donut says, driving me crazy. We need to win. We can win. Yeah, Donut speaks for me. It's driving me crazy too. You know? We can win. Politics is vitally important. I can't say enough about how vitally important politics is to our very way of life. But Elihu reminded me of something that I guess I had forgotten, because he had said that some people find this infuriating about me and other people like it. He said that I like to solve problems. Whereas some of the candidates we have today like to manage them. That really, obviously, by my reciting that to you, hit home with me as to what I think the overall problem is. Not just with me, but as Democrats, we have forgotten our duty to solve the very problems that put us into office. Problems associated with the have-not side of the haves and the have-nots. Problems that gave rise to Medicare and Medicaid and the social safety net. Problems that gave rise to solutions, right? Jon Ossoff didn't talk about the problem of there not being enough good, low-skilled jobs. Karen Handel at least alluded to it. We Democrats have to get back to that point where we do that. Now, Donna says, I think there are more important things than the Raiders. I think these are all important. This is a matter of, saying, hey, the Raiders don't matter. The Raiders do matter. You know why the Raiders matter, Donis? I'll tell you why. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about more creation of jobs. You want an idea of how important the Raiders are to Las Vegas, go to Union Local 872. It's also why unions should be involved in our effort. Because at the end of the day, the retention of the Raiders in Oakland involves building a new stadium. And what does that mean but jobs for people? So it's the jobs. It's or someone once said, it's the economy, stupid. The Raiders are part of that. I'm not calling you stupid. But my point is that we have a duty in all walks of life to make sure that people are able to achieve gainful employment in some way, even with respect to the Raiders. In fact, that's what it's all about. Okay? That's what it's all about. Hey, the Muse says, so for the price of 3 or 4 football stadiums, you can end world hunger. Actually, it would take more than the price of 3 or 4 football stadiums, Haley. It would take the price of about 300 football stadiums. 300 brand new, state-of-the-art stadiums. 300. There you go. That's it. Donna says, talking about the economy. Right. I mean, if you think about it, that's what we're talking about doing. Every time we talk about sports, we're talking about a subset of the economy. When we talk about, Dwight Howard being traded from the Atlanta Hawks to the Charlotte Hornets, we're talking about an economic move. Why would the Atlanta Hawks take, him out of his job like that, right? It's a good question. So, I want to share that. I've got a conversation I've got to get ready for that starts at 2 o'clock. And it's 1:36. I'll stop at 1:45. All right. Hey, John Marks. John, you always chime in just when I'm getting ready to chime out. Man, I feel bad, but I'll be back. Hey, I know how to solve this problem. John, tell me what you thought went wrong with the special election tonight. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go over here and get a bottle of water. Hold on a second. And I'm back. Water. Okay. Mr. Marks, why did we lose? Are you Republican? Why did we lose the Georgia special election in your view? And I think this last response will be the final one for this go around right now. John? Oh, John. Because we were stupid. John Marks says we lost because we were stupid. Which leads to this question. What do you mean by stupid, Mr. Marks? M-A-R-X? Any relation to Karl Marx? Karl Marx? Any relation to Karl Marx? Just wondering. I am waiting for Mr. Marx, not Karl Marx, John Marx, to write his responses. Oh, yes. John Marx just told me he is related to Karl Marx. He wrote, oh, yes. 5 letters. Oh, yes. 5 letters grouped into 2 words. Oh, yes. You're related to John Marx, Karl Marx, excuse me. But John Marx, who is related to Karl Marx, still writes, I don't know why we lost. Okay. We lost again because of message. It's all messaging. We didn't offer the job's message to the people who wanted to hear it the most. And again, I haven't said this, but I'll say this. Karen Handel, if it's true, her husband, if this is true, ran a shady campaign where he allegedly told black voters, hey, don't be a slave, vote for Republicans instead of Democrats. Oh, man. Now, that didn't make it to the mainstream media here. It would have caused a firestorm. It really would have. Because the question is, how many Republicans would have voted for Karen Handel if word got out that that was the case? I don't know. John Marks says, hey, John Marks, I'll remind you that the Raiders to Las Vegas, all this is intertwined. You can't separate politics. Why? Because a Republican legislature did that. A Democratic Nevada legislature would not have done that. Talking about pave the way for the Raiders to relocate to Las Vegas. Okay. And John Marks now corrects me and says he is not a relation to Karl Marx. All right. So let's try that again. John Marks, figure out for the next show why we lost. I want everybody to get this. And that's the whole point. But the bottom line is Donut says it boils down to infrastructure. Hey, explain that, Donut. What do you mean? Why does it boil down to infrastructure as far as why we lost the Democratic special election? I mean, the Georgia special election. And I wonder if anything with Steve Scalise has to do. She just mentioned Steve Scalise, who was, in a hospital. I wonder if that had a factor. You never thought about that. The Scalise factor. She says, right up until that tragic day on the ball field, Steve would drop me a text message every single week. Oh boy. Just to make sure I was doing okay and hanging tough. Well, that's nice. I think he even called me the Terminator in one of them. Wasn't sure about that one. But hasta la vista, she quotes Arnold Schwarzenegger. So John Marks says that he was a Republican in the 80s, which means he voted for Ronald Reagan. Bruce. Donna says highway improvement. John Marks says that he is now a Democrat since 1990. Okay. Why the switch? I'm interested. Hey, it's 1:41. I'm going to work on bowing out of here. I want to hear more about that later, but I had to follow up. The reason why we lost the Georgia special election was because we didn't focus on a jobs or a message, and we've got to do it. Like the old song, it's the economy, stupid. We didn't focus on that. Laser beam like, that's why. We have to start hitting some home runs. We're losing too many elections. We can't have the luxury of going into 2018 thinking that everything is hunky-dory, because it is anything but hunky-dory, okay? It's not. All right, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, or maybe later today. Good night. Good night. All right. As I wave to you, and I turn this. Okay. All right. Have a great one.